Hello, my friends, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here and only started watching me because of the Mica Miller investigation, welcome to my home. For the past 3 months, I've been living with my brother because my husband, he's in the military, and he has been in training and also in the in between of figuring out where he was going to be based, and he finally got his first orders, and here we are. But y'all will not believe where we're at. It is so coincidental. We had literally no idea. When did Micah Miller die? April. We did not know. April, May, June. We didn't know where he was going to be stationed till either late May or early June, because they released him to come get me in Missouri. So we had lived in Texas. He went to go do his training, and my family lives in Missouri. So I was like, there's literally no reason for me to stay here. So I moved back to Missouri, just lived with my brother for the time being. And then my husband came and got me within a matter of 3 days. We packed up. This is a camper. We live in a camper. This is our home. And we packed up the camper, loaded everything up, and then drove to where he is stationed, which is Fort Liberty, which is in North Carolina, which is also 45 minutes away from Robson County Sheriff's Department. I am not shitting you. When I first heard, like when he told me where we were going, I was like, oh, neat. Okay, great. So I just, pulled up the map just to get my bearings and see where we were going to be. We are so close to Lumberton State Park. Like the radio, we hear commercials for Robson County, for Lumberton, for anything in the Lumberton area. And we had to drive through Robson County. And I was on the phone with my husband at the time, and I was like, dude, I just saw the sign. Like, we're in Robson County. And he was like, oh my God, we can't stop. Like, if something happens, just keep going. So it is very coincidental. It is very strange that we are here. And on Saturday, there's going to be a protest, which we'll kind of get into. There's going to be a protest at the Robson County Sheriff's Department, and I'm going to try to convince my husband to not necessarily go, because I know that he wouldn't want to, like, us to be a part of that, but to just kind of like drive by and see. Him being in the military and this being such a huge case, he's very iffy on me, like, getting really into it, which all makes sense. But and JP, with all the allegations of him being a freaking psychopath, allegedly, he's obviously protective. And now that we're super close to it, so I mean, like, you could throw us, like, South Carolina is 50 50-ish minutes away, because we stayed in our camper for 2 nights. It took us 2 days to get here. We stayed in it at a truck stop the first night, and then the second night we went to South Carolina. I'm not sure where, but we just pulled the slides out and we hooked everything up, and we stayed one night, and then we drove 30 minutes to where we're at here. So we're very, very close to all of it. And I think it is freaking nuts. So, in saying that, I have been a little MIA because of the move. So, I do appreciate y'all for being patient with me. What we're going to review today, it might be the first time that I've seen it. So, I've tried to keep up with things just so I could be aware of what was going on. But my husband coming into town and finally being able to spend time with him that I haven't been able to in 6 months. We did a lot of just being together, and then saying goodbye to my family, which is always so freaking, ugh, so hard. But we did that. We had family things there for us for leaving, and just packing up all of the stuff in the camper, going to get the camp, whatever. So it's been a lot. So haven't necessarily been able to, and we're driving for 2 days, so I haven't been on my phone all that much. So, any hoodles, we're going to go through a lot of stuff. From what I gathered from the little bitty baby things that I've seen is the Francis family held a press conference, and Mica's sister also came out to, I think it was Fitz News, that she came out and just, it was like an hour long. I think I watched little snippets of it, but haven't watched the whole entire thing, which y'all let me know. I think we're going to watch a little bit of it today, but y'all let me know if you want me to do a full reaction to that. I'm still going to do a reaction to the whole funeral. It's just been a lot. And like there are so many things that can't continue to come out about this case. I'm trying to keep up with everything. So, in the next few weeks, I'm gonna really, really try to hone in and get these videos out there, because I had a job interview yesterday and I did get the job. The downfall is, since it's a government, it's on base, so it's a government job. The only downfall is that it takes a little bit to officially get hired. So I'm going to take that time, like I did for the last, 3 months at my brother's, really trying to dish out content, because this is now income for me and all I want it to do is grow. So I do not want it to be stagnant for any longer. So here we are, and I'm very, very thankful for y'all and the kind words that I received on my community tab when I told y'all that we were in the move. And now we're here. Let me tell you something that is so stupid and it drives me nuts. There is a lake. I could right now at my camper, I could throw a rock. I usually say this in exaggeration, but this is not. I could throw a rock and it land in a beautiful lake. But guess what? That lake is private to the people who actually live on it. There's like an HOA when it comes to the freaking lake. So my husband, knowing me so very well, he was like, dude, you can't get in. Don't even put a toe in it. If you do, like, we'll get kicked out. And I'm like, you cannot tell me that there's no public access to this. Like, I'll show y'all. I'm gonna do a full moving vlog, fun, new to the area kind of thing, but I think I'm just going to put it on my Patreon. I think I'm going to do that just because I don't want to necessarily mess with the algorithm of YouTube, right? So if I'm posting something that has literally nothing to do with religion, with pastors, with Micah Miller in this case, and or religious trauma or church hurt, it might kind of whatever. So I'm going to put it on my Patreon. I hope it's okay with y'all. If you would like to support me there, the highest tier is $10. The lowest tier is $4. So you do whatever God lays on your little heart to do. Either way, I'm still very grateful that you're here. And also, if you want to see more behind the scenes kind of content, I will be putting it on Patreon. However, I do also put it on my Instagram stories, which I have not, like I told you, I've been driving, so I'm not, I would taking videos here and there, but I haven't been updating on Instagram or anything. So I really have a lot of back video that I need to get out there. So, and I'll update y'all on my new job, which is going to be kind of fun. So, and I really hope it is more fun. So, I think we should go ahead and jump in. Like I said before, what we're going to watch is probably new to me as well. So, I didn't, I'm going to be honest with you, I did not necessarily take a lot of time to search for things. I did a little bit so it wouldn't be like super chaotic, but at the same time, I just wanted to get this up and out there. I miss doing this, and I really wanted to know what else was going on with the Mica Miller case. So let us get into it. We're gonna watch Robbie Harvey videos, Brit once again, and I think there's another TikToker that we're going to dive into. I don't know the relevance of I'm not saying it's not be mean, but I don't know the relevance of this TikToker. I'm not sure if it looks like they just do true crime stuff, but they have videos of John Paul because he is starting to come out and talk a little bit, but he claims that his silence is wisdom. Gag me, whatever. So let's go ahead and jump into what we're going to learn about the Mica Miller investigation in part 9. I think it's part 9. Here we go. Okay, first video we're going to watch is from Britt.
When I tell you you're not ready, sit down. Sit all the way down. Oh, yes. Yes, he did. Mr. Humble himself posted a video, I guess released it to someone called @TrueCrimeRI, talked all about how he's...
That's the TikTok that I was just talking about, and we're going to dive more into that TikToker. I'm not sure. I don't know who does it. I think he or she makes it like unknown. I think, but we'll dive into that person's TikTok.
Got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of text messages that prove his innocence and that he's going to get justice from Mica, whatever that means to him, because I guess now he's bending to the whole fact that everybody believes that she actually didn't do this to herself, but that if at the very least she did, I don't believe she did, then someone was responsible, but it's not him. He wants you to know it's not him. He's going to tell us who it is, and he's going to prove it to us. I literally cannot make this up.
Greetings, everybody. I am here to let you know that my silence is nothing more than wisdom and self-control so that we can win the war that is up ahead. And I am looking forward to presenting over 350 pieces of proof on what Mica thinks about her family and what Mica thinks about her lawyer and the things her lawyer...
I can't take him seriously with a freaking Spider-Man sculpture behind him. Oh, dear God.
And the things that her family's saying, and Charlotte and all these other people that are saying things. People forget that Mica corresponded with me more than anybody else on planet Earth. And I know her heart, and I have her text messages, and we're going to disprove all the lies that are out there. And there's so many lies, it seems like everybody thinks the world is flat. And you ask them why, and they say, well, it says on the news the world's flat. Or, you know, Robbie Stinky Harvey said that it's flat. Or JLR Never Investigates says that it's flat.
Fundamentalist Christians are so funny. And you'll hear Paul from Paul and Morgan say this a lot. They won't ever say freaking, they'll say stinking. And it's so embarrassing. It is so embarrassing. Just say the word, man. Just say freaking if you didn't want to say, like, of course, like, just say stinking. It all means the same thing. Dude, I was made fun of so much in school for saying stinking. It's so embarrassing.
The court, I'm going to show you that the world is round, and you're going to be shocked at some of the things that you see that Mica says. And we're going to find out actually who is responsible for my wife's death, and Mica will have justice when it's all said and done, and I'm going to make sure of it. So thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you soon. God.
I'm sorry. What? So let me get this straight. He's going to make sure that Mica gets justice. And he's got 350 something text messages saying how everybody who's speaking out, he's going to go ahead and discredit them. First of all, he's had access to her phone for months. Who's going to believe anything he says? Are you nuts? Why wouldn't you come out with proof that you actually were not where they say you were? If people are trying to say that you had every opportunity to be at the crime scene, have your fingers involved in stuff, you're the one being served with papers nonstop, and you think that the way that you're going to get out of it is by pumping the blame onto other people who loved her and tried to help her get out of this environment for years with 350 something text messages when you had access to her phone? What? I'm sorry. Who's going to believe that? I have an idea. Why don't you present one geotagged located picture of you in it exactly at the time of the crime? That would be something I would want to see.
So bananas. Okay, let's go to that TikToker's account. The person who runs it, I guess that is irrelevant. It doesn't really matter. So we just watched this one here, and I think that is everything that Britt just put on there. So let's go to Justice for Micah with JP Part 2. Let's watch this one.
Hey everybody, tonight's video is going to be a little bit more lighthearted.
Oh, and Robbie Harvey, he actually did a response to JP, and we'll also watch that.
The goal is to debunk a different lie every night, and the Francis family has given me a lot to work with, so it's going to take a while. But don't believe anything that I say just because I say it. That's as foolish as you believing what they say just because they say it. You need to look for proof and truth. And so tonight we're going to deal with something that Michael Francis said. Mica, my wife, had 7 days. I think her mom's married 7 times. Michael Francis is the biological father, and he said the other day on some show something to the effect of Micah's one of her tattoos, my name my signature that is tattooed on her body. He inferred that meant that I owned her and that I was controlling and manipulative, and I made her get that tattoo so I could brand her and stamp her and say that she belongs to me. And that's not really how it worked. The first time she got my signature tattooed on her, it was when we were dating. And I was actually in New York on a vacation, and she sent me a picture of what she had done, and I was surprised. A few weeks later, we broke up, and she covered it up with a lotus flower. And then we got married, and then a few years later, she got my signature tattooed on the other side of her body. But I don't think that it means that I was controlling and manipulative. I don't think it means that I owned her. I don't think it was a brand or anything I forced her to do. It was completely her idea. And I don't know why Michael would think that. But if you do think that's what it means, if somebody has, someone else's name, their signature even, tattooed on their body, if you think it means that person owns them and, that they are over them and they're controlling, then what would you...
Um, sorry, I'm pausing, but I'm reading the comments. It's probably going to be cut out of what y'all see, but I'm reading the comments, and somebody asked, where are these videos coming from? How are you getting them? And the true crime re, she said, hi, I'm sorry, I explained it in an early comment, it might be buried. I got the video statements directly from John Paul Miller in response to my request for his side of the story, if you care at all.
About this. Whose idea do you think?
Put your shirt down. That's gross. Okay, part 3.
Hey everyone, tonight we will deal with the fact that I preached the day after my wife passed and the announcement that I made. Before that, I just want to talk about the tattoo from the other night. The tattoo that had her signature, it was gotten back in January with her. She wanted a very, very thick wedding band tattooed on her wedding finger so that when she was working out or we were on vacation, when she didn't have a ring, she'd let everybody know she was still married. That is not something that someone who's being abused does, but she wanted that tattoo and she wanted me to get her signature, so I showed up and did it. The reason I preached the day after she passed, the night before that midnight, I had 5 people at my house telling me not to preach and that I would be crazy for doing it. I didn't listen, and it's because at first I didn't believe it. I'd spent the past 3.5 months doing everything I could to keep her alive. My goal was every single day to find somebody, some way to get her medicine, because I told them that she was going to commit suicide if she didn't get her liver.
I don't understand why this keeps coming up. Okay. You had said, JP had said in a sermon that when they were separating, that he was on 900 milligrams, I think he said, of lithium. If you were trying to keep your wife alive and you had the medicine, what? I don't understand. Like, I really don't get why this keeps coming up. Why he keeps saying, well, she just needed her medicine. We couldn't get her medicine. This isn't a third world country. You know what I mean? Like, getting the medicine is not difficult. So, what are we missing? Why does it keep coming to it was hard for her to get her medicine? Why? You have it. You were taking it. What's the problem?
And I went to her pastors, counselors, doctors, policemen, judges, friends, family, roommates, everybody you could possibly think of, and nobody believed me. So to get that call that night that it happened, I'm sure you can imagine what a failure I felt like, as well as this just can't be true. It can't be my worst nightmare. There's no way. And so I thought maybe the family was playing a trick on me or something. The other side of it was, I thought if it is true, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to do anything. I want to just keep living my life as if it never happened.
Keep in mind, we went over this, and I don't remember which part it was, but he texted the Francis family and said, "Congratulations, this is y'all's fault." In a nutshell, why would he do that? Oh, the Francis family, excuse me, playing a trick on me. I didn't want to deal with it. No, absolutely not. There might be a bit of time. I mean, it's a grieving process. A bit of time where you do deny it, but not that long. It doesn't take that long. It's a, hey, so and so died. No. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. And then you're like, oh my God, this is happening. It's a part of the grieving process, sure, but not hours long, days long for him to think of a sermon to preach and then to tell his congregation, oh, by the way, if he was dealing with that grief so much, he wouldn't have gone to church. This is all bullshit, in my opinion.
I wasn't ready to believe that it happened. So next I preached like a fool, and then I made my announcement for everybody to be quiet and leave, because like a moment of silence, like you do, in respect. I did it kind of like, I don't want anybody to be talking about, suicide or mental illness or asking me questions, or I just want them to leave and go talk to Jesus about it and then talk to me at some later date. I was not prepared to deal with any of it at all, and I'm sure you cannot imagine what it's like to be trying your best to keep somebody alive and then to find out they passed. And
That was a little presumptuous. You wouldn't understand. I mean, I'm sure you couldn't begin to understand. You realize that you're not the only person in the history of the world that has lost a loved one, but in your mind, lost a loved one to suicide, which I don't think any of us believe. But you're not the only one.
and how do you handle yourself in that next 24, 48 hours? I don't think there's a manual on that. So if it offends anybody, I apologize, but I did the best I could with what I had. And God bless. Okay, logical thinkers out there, here we go. Help me understand why. After my wife passed away, I texted the family telling them I would pay for all their travel expenses. They asked me for $2,500 and then $1,000, so I gave them $3,500. 7 minutes after the check was cashed, they posted on Facebook they needed money from all of you for their travel expenses. Help me understand why. I texted the entire family and said I'd love for you to come and see Mica's body. Here's the times that the funeral home says is best. They thumbed up the message, and about an hour after that, they posted on Facebook that I would not let them see Mica's body. Please help me understand that. They said I forced them to sign some cremation paper that I knew nothing about, had no idea what they were talking about. Days later, I was given this piece of paper that the mom and dad both signed, saying they wanted Mica to be cremated, and they chose to have that, which I totally agreed with because of the way that she passed away. I thought that was what was best, but nobody forced them to sign anything, and I don't even know what they're talking about with that. They said that I pushed the cremation to happen quickly to hide things. The national average is 3 days because after that the body starts to smell. She was cremated 6 days after she passed away so that her ashes would be ready for the funeral the next day. While the family was there, I told the funeral director, I said, let them know that I'll pay for all the urns that they want, with the ashes in it. I'll pay for jewelry like This stainless steel cross has Mica's ashes inside. It's the only ashes I have. They have all the rest. The funeral director called me and said the bill's going to be $18,000. I said, why? He said, they all picked out 24 karat gold jewelry. So I said, please call them back and let them know that if I'm paying, they got to get the cheap stuff. And it was still well over $10,000, but I didn't mind because the way you treat people is not based on the people. The way you treat people is based on your own heart. And so if you could help me understand the answers to those questions, I'd appreciate it. Thanks a lot, and God bless.
I don't even have words. Okay, there's a part 4B.
Okay, y'all, this is part B, I guess. The family, Francis' family said there were bruises on Mica's body. There were none. I saw her body 4 times. I saw it once in the hospital, 3 times in the funeral home. The hospital that prepared her body for me to see it, the nurse and the medical examiner said there were no bruises, and Robinson County said there were no bruises, and the funeral home who washed her entire body and put her in pajamas for us to see her body said there were no bruises. So 4 independent parties say no bruises, but then you have the one who wait until days after she's cremated, and there's no proof. They didn't take any pictures. They didn't tell anyone when they supposedly saw it. They wait till later and say, everybody, hey, there's bruises on her body, bruises.
No, Michael Francis said he took pictures of her body, which would be very what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. But to show that, as some type of proof that like no, these were the bruises. Her dad said he took pictures of her body.
Why in the world would we believe that? I literally don't understand the logic behind it. I don't understand it because, let's say the Francis family came forward and said there were no bruises on her body. Robinson County said there were no bruises on her body. The medical examiner nurse said there were no bruises on her body. The funeral home said there were no bruises on her body. But then I step up and I said, hey, everybody, I saw bruises. I know I didn't tell you when it happened. I know I didn't take a picture. I know I waited until after she was cremated. But I saw bruises on her body. Would you believe me?
So this is the funeral home invoice. It's strange because even somebody in the comments here said, why is the invoice dated for the day of her death? This other comment says, why does the invoice say 4/27? There is no way they did all of that the day that she died. Yeah, that is really strange. Justice for Mica with JP part 5. Here we go.
Okay, first of all, somebody was making fun of me because I sniff. I have a tick. I had a tick since I was a kid, so that's what it is. At some point, we're going to have to recognize in time that this story is about mental illness awareness more than anything else. My wife was diagnosed with bipolar 2 disorder, schizophrenia, dependent personality disorder, and several other diagnoses by different doctors at different times all throughout the past 7 years. The 2 diagnoses that stayed with her every single year was schizophrenia and bipolar 2. Bipolar 2 is where you're super high and you want to give away $1,000. The low is you want to end your life. And she went super high and super low many, many times over the years. And it was a struggle, almost a constant struggle, but we got through it. And the schizophrenia is where she would hear voices or talk to people that were not there. She'd play chess with people that were not there without a chessboard. She would sometimes forget who I was or forget that I was her husband. She'd forget who she was or forget that she was my wife.
I'm sorry, but the videos that she put on Facebook leading up to her death, they don't scream mental illness, right? Like, I mean, granted, I've never been around with somebody with bipolar or somebody with schizophrenia, but the videos that she was putting on Facebook were very peaceful. You know what I'm saying? Like, in the video in particular that has been going around a lot, and we really, really honed in on it on part 1 and 2, I think, is her saying abuse is terrible. Like, God doesn't want you to be in an abusive marriage, an abusive relationship. He wants you to live in peace. And even if that means like your husband was giving you illegal drugs or hitting you or whatever. But so she was like trying to tell us without actually going out and saying this is what JP is doing. But she didn't seem manic. She didn't seem depressed, which I fully understand that I've had people in my life who I'm sure you can relate that we think is perfectly fine, and then they do end their own life, and you're just kind of sitting there like, oh my God, we thought they were fine. So I'm not naive to that, but he, JP, has stood at the pulpit in his own church and said, I am I do believe he even said, I'm hearing voices. I am on 900 milligrams of lithium. I am more depressed than I've ever been in my whole entire life. I've even had suicide ideations. And everything that he's saying about Mica right now, like, he's, like, in my opinion, he's projecting because he stood at the pulpit. And I don't understand why these ignorant, in my opinion, ignorant solid rock congregants cannot see how strange this is and not understand that he's explaining the stuff that's going on with him, not his wife. In my opinion, this is just unbelievable.
Um, on March 11th, remember that date because you super sleuths out there are going to need to know that date for the future. But on March 11th, something happened that kind of forever changed the course of our lives. And she went really deep into the schizophrenia and was delusional and accusing me of certain things, slashing tires or sending a naked picture or stalking her or things like that that I didn't do. And
No, no, he sent an email to the brother, I do believe, explaining like that he is sorry and he likes to hurt. Oh my God. He's actually a freaking psychopath. In my opinion, allegedly, he's a psychopath. This is nuts. He sent an email to one of the friends, I believe it was the brother, saying, I did slash the tires. I like to hurt people who hurt me. I'm sorry. And then he even admitted to sharing a nude picture rather, of Mica on Facebook for what was it, 1 or 2 hours to get back at her or something, and then he took it down. He literally admitted to that. How he admitted to that, he just said sorry, but he admitted to it regardless. And now he's saying, no, I didn't do that. What is happening?
And I found an Apple AirTag in my car, in my truck that week, and I assumed it was hers because I would keep seeing her pop up where I was at. Here's a video of I was at a gas station on March 13th, and I look up and I see this very beautiful woman in a car that I've never seen before. And I learned quickly, of course, it was my wife. And she was hiding out or spying or something and began videotaping me. And so I videotaped her, videotaping me. Um, but you know, it's sad that the mental illness is sad, but we managed to always find lightheartedness in life in spite of it, and we always got through it. And I would do things like sometimes I had to play into the delusion, like pretend like I was a.
Listen, let's say, devil's advocate, let's say this is true, all right? That she was everything that he is saying. How, for the amount of time that he has known her, what, since 14 or 15, and then marries her, freaking gross, grooming, absolutely, in my opinion. How could he not know, right? I understand that you could be diagnosed with something or have to be 18 to actually be diagnosed with something. Not entirely sure why I did quotes. Whatever. So you have to be 18 in order to actually be diagnosed with something because that would be, when you're an adult. But they didn't get married until she was in her 20s. So how would it be that he didn't know about all this mental illness before marrying her when he has known her for a very long time. So you're saying she just switched when y'all got married and she went crazy after y'all got married, and that's when she was schizophrenic, bipolar, all of the things that I think you are. Again, you said you were on lithium, and then you said, my wife just needs her medicine. You have it. You dumb, dumb, dumb gremlin.
Double agent who quit their job to marry this beautiful girl, and I'd have to show her our marriage license, and one time I even wrote a resignation to an agency saying that I can no longer work for you because I fell in love and wanted to get married, and things like that. It would help her take her medicine when she would come off of it, and I learned that about 2 years into the marriage, and we worked hard to keep her on her medicine. We worked very hard to keep her enjoying her life. She didn't have to cook a single meal. She didn't have to clean. She didn't have to work. She just had to take her medicine and enjoy her life. And we did our best with what we had. But here's a video of March 13th.
What the hell? You can't even tell that it's her, but we also don't know the full story because maybe she was the one that showed up at the gas station before JP, and she was trying to gather proof that he was following her. So that's when she started recording. This says no proof. You can't even tell that it's her.
Okay, everybody, we're going to answer a question from Miss Kelly C19. That is C19. And she asked how me and True Crime Re got connected. And so this is an unusual story. I've had people call from all over the world, Australia, England, California, Antarctica. That was a lie. Nobody's called from Antarctica. Nobody cares about me at all in Antarctica. Anyway, and so all these other people are calling, and they're all asking me like information and just not very nice, and their motives. They want me to go on their shows and their TV shows and all these kind of things. And True Crime recalled me, and she had.
Before he starts this, I was going to say this during that other video, but everything that he's putting up to like save his ass to prove that, she was living the best life or whatever, everything that he is saying is like, I was such a good husband. She didn't have to clean. She didn't have to cook. She didn't have to work. She just had to take her meds and be beautiful and live her life. Really? So, so you did nothing, absolutely nothing wrong. You even went into the delusion when she was going crazy or when she had her schizophrenic moments and you were like, "Oh, here's her marriage license." She didn't have dementia. Why are you having to remind her that you were her husband? Everything that he is saying is not proof for one. There's zero proof, but it's, I did this for her. I was the good husband. I had to have the job and provide for her. I did it. It's all about how I did it. I made a perfect life for Micah. There has never been well, I did screw up here. I did do this to her. Maybe I did push her to the limit, but there's no, it might have been my fault. You know what I'm saying? So I don't believe a fucking word that's coming out of his mouth.
Ulterior motives whatsoever. She just was asking how I was doing. She didn't know who I was. She didn't want me to give her any kind of information. She just started just being.
I hope for God that I hope that ain't true. I hope that ain't true. And now I'm starting to think that True Crime Re is trying to give a voice to JP in like a positive. I sure hope I'm wrong, but if he believes that she reached out to him not knowing who he was, number one, I really, really hope that's not the case, because no. But two, he I wouldn't think he was that naive to believe that she reached out to him not knowing who he was, and now she's posting all of the videos of him and his side. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course she knew who you were. What are you doing?
Very kind to me, and through that, I found out that she was a talk person. And at one point, I told her, I said, to help me heal, I think it's time for me to start sharing a little bit. And I got one of my lawyers to approve me sharing little bits and pieces. And she said to me, and here's how much integrity she had. She said to me, there's platforms that are a lot bigger that would love to hear your story. And I said, I really appreciate that. My goal isn't for everybody to hear my story. My goal is just to kind of get the word out a little bit, to make me feel better. I said, I need to heal, and I have all this stuff inside of me, and I have nobody to really share it with. And it's full. I know it's truth. I have proof behind it. I said, I don't care if 1,000,000 people hear it or 1,000 people hear it. I just want to talk about it. And so she agreed that she'd put it on her platform that she has. If I send her the videos. And so that's kind of what we've been doing. And it doesn't matter to me if everybody hears it and believes it. It doesn't matter if they hear it and they like me. It doesn't matter if everyone hears it or nobody hears it. It just kind of makes me feel good to know that True Crime rehears it. and I promise I'll be truthful with you. And so that's what we do.
I like this comment. The very first comment says, True Crime Re, be careful, you have a similar look to both wives. And I fully agree with that. This comment says, in quotes, just kind of makes me feel good to know that True Crime Re hears it. Giddy laugh. Is this a Ron Anderson riding to Gypsy Rose kind of thing? She is True Crime Re. She is infatuated with JP, and he seems to be, what's the rest of it? Seems to be getting off on it. He keeps saying how it makes me feel good. We know all about you feeling good. Again, it's all about him. But yeah, him coming out and saying that's weird to me. Oh no. Is she infatuated? Oh my god, I hope not. But that's so interesting because she's making fun of him like right here. Um I don't know if I can play the music. I think this video is so funny. This video is so funny, and it's making him look dumb, which is beautiful, and it's hilarious, and AI is just wonderful. So she did that. So unless he's really, really freaking dumb and she's kind of playing it. So she's trying to be very nice and respectful, like interrogators do, to be on his side, to get him to be like, oh yeah, like I just wanted her to know my story. We decided to be like really good friends or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe she's just playing it just right. So either one of those things could be true, I guess. Go ahead and look at Robbie Harvey's YouTube. So he puts on a lot of videos about narcissistic behavior, especially when it comes to within the family, and he puts that on his TikTok. However, it's so much easier to look at videos on his YouTube, and they're longer. So we're gonna watch a few of these videos. One is the John Paul Calls Me Out, which is Robbie Harvey, and then John Paul Speaks Again, and then again John Paul Miller, and then the morning of March 11th, which is what John Paul Miller was talking about. Like, all you internet sleuths, just remember March 11th, so I don't even know what happens. So let's just watch these.
Since John Paul Miller felt the need to bring up my name, I felt the need to respond. John Paul, I want to remind you that you had the opportunity to tell your side and your story on my platform.
JP, this is Robbie Harvey and Justin on TikTok, man, and we're going to be respectful and allow you to speak.
Unfortunately, you declined, telling people that I was not a very nice person. And I respect your opinion, but let's be clear on a few things. I have never hit a woman with a truck twice, and I didn't cover up my license plate while doing it. I've also never posted a topless photo of my wife in anger just to hurt her. And I've never slashed her tires. I certainly haven't placed tracking devices on her vehicles, though you say the PI you hired was the one who did that. And I have never ever texted her family saying I'm coming to get my wife and I'm armed and ready. And those are just the facts that we know now, things that you've admitted to doing. I haven't even brought up the allegations, specifically the ones from your ex-wife, who you spent many years with, like where she alleges you admitting to having inappropriate relationships with minors. And she alleges that you're addicted to women who walk the street, who ask for money in exchange for their services. You say people are believing the earth is flat because of what I say. And that's simply not true, John Paul. They believe what they hear and see. They heard you say that you have the same personality type as Hitler and Satan.
Because I discovered what my personality is. I'm a D.I. Other high D's. King Saul was a high D. The devil's a high D. Hillary Clinton is a high D. Hitler is a high D. Don't confuse those two, by the way. Anyway.
Okay, pause right here. I don't know the fascination. This is kind of like on a tangent, not having to do with JP Miller. But what he's talking about right now are personality traits, and it's this little test that you can take to essentially explain your personality. And I don't know the fascination with Christians and personality tests, because the big test that we would take would be the color test. So red is very in your face, very blunt, naturally doesn't have a lot of compassion for others, and like tells you boom. And yeah, that is a lot of my personality. And blue is like overly emotional. White is you have to be at peace with everything, and yellow is you're motivated by fun, essentially. And I truly don't understand why, like, people come to me, like family members will come to me who are raised in the church, and they'll be like, so what personality is whatever. Like the first things that when like my husband and I started dating, it was, so what's his personality colors? I'm like, oh my God, dude, he's a great person. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand it. I guess it allows you to understand the person, but I do know that in some churches, they have your color chart like on your desk. Like it's a part of like your nameplate. So other people can know how to approach you and know how to speak to you and understand what you're motivated by, that type of thing. And this is another personality test. I had to take this test in college and in the church as well. So this is just a little aside thing, but I don't understand the fascination with personality traits and Christians. Like, it's very strange to me.
I'm joking.
They heard you say that demons were coming out of you during a time of struggle.
For the past 4 weeks, I've had the most horrible battle and horrible time of my entire life. I've never, ever, not even close, been through what I'm going through right now in life. Not even close. Horrible. I mean, horrible, so bad. I'm seeing a psychiatrist every week. I'm on 900 milligrams of lithium. I'm seeing a counselor every week. I'm going to inner healing. I'm going to deliverance 3 times a week with pastors in the area. I'm doing everything I can just to be able to get out of bed. I'm so depressed. I want to die. I'm battling suicidal thoughts. I have unforgiveness.
See? Everything that I just said. He has lithium. But the problem that he continues to say is it was hard for her to get medication. But you're on 900 milligrams of lithium, which is delusional and irrational, in my opinion. That's so much. But why would someone stand at the pulpit and explain their mental illnesses and their, like, I'm not downplaying pastors being human, right? And being like, man, I'm really struggling right now. That is absolutely sure. there's a there's a place for you, whatever. But this is like, brother, step down, go home and gather yourself. You do not need to be here. However, in order for him to continue to receive a paycheck, his congregation has to be there and they have to give. Because if you're not aware, the pastor is paid by donations from people in the church and tithing. That's why I'm not a huge fan of tithing anymore. Tithing could be giving to the needy, serving your time, well, not serving, but like using your time to serve, using your talents to serve. That type of thing could be tithing, but you're not taught that. Tithing is only money, what you're taught inside the church, which that's not accurate at all. But the pastor has to get paid, right? No. That's why, in my opinion, that's why he continued to go to the church. That's why he went the day after she died. He said, please continue to come to the church. Please continue to give, because if they're not giving, he's not getting paid.
Hatred, demons coming out of me, horrible.
They heard you say that you had an announcement, and you told your congregation to stand up and walk out without talking about that announcement while your wife laid in a morgue.
We're not going to do an altar call today. Instead, I'm going to have you stand up and I'm going to make an announcement. And after the announcement, I'm going to ask that you leave church quietly and don't talk about the announcement here in the building, please, if you can. So y'all can stand to your feet. Before I make the announcement, I also want to say that my request to you is that you will continue to come to church and serve and give for the next little bit, because I don't want to have. I'm taking a little bit of a break, and I don't want to have to worry about the church. My break may be a few days, a few weeks. I don't know.
He means he doesn't have to worry about his paycheck.
I got a call late last night. My wife has passed away, and it was self-induced, and it was up in North Carolina, and we're gonna have a funeral for her next Sunday here at 3 p.m. And so it's all I can. Yeah, I'm just kind of going on adrenaline right now. So y'all pray for me and my kids and everybody. And she wasn't. Y'all knew that she wasn't well mentally, and that she needed her medicine that was hard to get to her. And so I'm sure there'll be more details to come.
I don't believe you were by Mica the day she died. Matter of fact, I know you weren't. I've always said that. But I do have questions about what happened. I do question if she allegedly reported the church to the IRS just a few days prior to her death. I do question why she felt the need to file for a protection order request and separation from you. I do question your text messages to the African mission team just minutes after you were served those papers. I do question why she was texting friends on Friday night saying she was excited to see them at church on Sunday. I do question what was said to her Friday night. I do question what happened Saturday morning. I do question that if she was in such a dark place, why was she dancing and smiling at the gun shop? I do question if you were allegedly tracking her just moments before she died. I do question the Robeson County Sheriff's Department. I do question the 2 bullet casings. I do question the live round. I do question the fisherman. I do question how he got her stuff and didn't see her body. I do question how her body floated so far away so he couldn't see her body in just a matter of moments. I do question the kayakers. I do question why these people weren't interviewed. I do question that if she wanted to be found by her family, why she traveled so far away and waded through water, making it difficult to know where she was.
I just want my family to know where to find me.
I do question why you didn't rush to her side. I do question why you were out with Susie just days after her death. I do question why your father said you weren't with a woman the day Mica died, but yet police say you were. I do question why a pastor owned a bar. I do question a lot. And it's okay to ask these questions. And I hope you have the answer to these questions soon. And I hope you have the evidence that can point in the direction of who's responsible for Mica's death. I know you're going to give us a lot of text messages, good ones from your wife, and I know you're going to provide more from her family and Charlotte. I know it. Remember, you've known Mica since she was 14 years old. I have no doubt there's a lot of good things she had to say about you. But that doesn't undo what you've done. That doesn't undo what you've admitted to. That doesn't undo the facts. And my platform is always available for you to provide those answers and to tell your side.
Okay, there's music. I can't play all of that, unfortunately. I do not want to get copyrighted. So we are going to... Oh, my Lord in heaven. I figured this video was going to be a longer one, but I don't think y'all mind. Okay, John Paul continues to speak.
John Paul Miller continues to talk, and in a new video, he explains why he made the decision to preach just hours after his wife's death. Take a listen.
Hey everyone, tonight we will deal with the fact that I preached the day after my wife passed and the announcement that I made. Before that, I just want to talk about the tattoo from the other night. The tattoo that had her signature, it was gotten back in January with her. She wanted a very, very thick wedding band.
Now, he speaks about a tattoo in this video, and I'm going to ignore that. Y'all can go down that rabbit hole if you would like. But there are a few things in this video that I was able to confirm weeks ago. It is true that John Paul Miller, in fact, did not believe that his wife had died. I was able to confirm through multiple sources that John Paul Miller indeed thought it was a joke. Now, why he thought the family would play such a joke on him, I don't know if we'll ever have the answer to that question. But I was also able to confirm that there were multiple people at his house that night when he got the call that his wife had died. And I've kept that quiet for a variety of reasons, at least until one of the parties came out and spoke publicly like John Paul has done now. And here's one of the reasons why I kept that quiet. According to multiple sources who were at the house at night, they knew details of the crime scene.
It was a little tricky to figure out how to get to this.
Yeah.
But it's actually pretty quick.
It is. It was a lot easier than what I thought,
But
too.
this is a perfect place off the beaten path to be dead and nobody find you for a while.
Yeah. So why would you call to have somebody find you if you're off the beaten path?
And your stuff ain't with you.
Right.
Now, I call it a crime scene because in every police department that I have dealt with, if it involves a death, that is considered a crime scene until a proper investigation is done. According to my sources, Robeson County Sheriff's Department calls John Paul Miller to notify him of what happened. But the phone was on speakerphone, and Robeson County Sheriff's Department was giving out details of the scene to anybody who would listen. And that has always been my issue with the Robeson County Sheriff's Department and their handling of this case. Now, we now know that John Paul Miller was nowhere near the scene when Mica died. But at the time, just hours after that trigger was pulled, Robeson County Sheriff's Department didn't know that Mica Miller filed a protection order request and that John Paul was served just 2 days prior to her death. Robeson County Sheriff's Department didn't know that she filed for separation. Robeson County Sheriff's Department did not know the history between John Paul Miller and Mica Miller.
Okay, we have 2 more videos to get through here. This is about 4 minutes long. And then the other one is like 8 minutes, and then we'll cut it. I have about a little bit over an hour that I can video until my puppy dog is like, okay, I'm over it. I don't want to be quiet anymore.
John Paul Miller has given me an exclusive video responding to accusations from the Francis family.
Okay, today we're going to deal with 3 Francis family figment fibs.
I quite literally didn't have words. I wonder where is he posting these videos, because the true crime with Ree, he is giving those videos to her, but where's he posting that? I'll have to find out. But now he's making it like a joke, like a lighthearted 5 things about do. What are your thoughts on, like, my brain is having trouble comprehending what he's doing. He's trying to make it silly. He's trying to make it fun. Oh my god. This is oh my.
Okay, that are freaking crazy. The first one is they said that I put Mica in a mental institute. Out of all the times that she's been in a mental institute, I personally don't remember one single time that I did it. Every single time that I can remember, and we'll look at her record soon, every single time that I remember was either a doctor, different doctors that she was seeing, it was her putting herself in one, or it was through an emergency room.
I don't think they mean that you literally put her in there. You could have said things to confuse her or make her feel crazy, or even driven her that, well, I mean, figuratively and literally driven her to the mental institute. It doesn't necessarily always mean that you held her hand and like took her. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't always mean that. He is trying, in my opinion, trying to be so far away, like taking himself out of the situation. How am I trying to say this? He's trying to make it to where he's so far out of the situation that it was only Micah that was making those decisions. But there's absolutely no way. In my opinion, he is to blame for so much of this. But and it has so many red flags, because he's like, "Oh, no. I didn't do that. Her family did. It wasn't me. It was her family." Like JP, she literally said, "If I wind up with a bullet in my head, it wasn't me. It was JP." Coincidental? No.
That's the only times I can remember. Her sister, Sierra, I think she put on the affidavit that I had sex with my wife, or made her have sex with me in front of people in the hospital. It sounds like a Jerry Springer, event every time I deal with them. But no, I've never even been in a hospital room ever with my wife. In 2017, when she had her augmentation, I was there at the where there's like 50 other people in this where they prepare you for surgery, that kind of thing. The times that I visited her in the mental institute, they don't let you go in the rooms. It's one big visiting area where all the families see the people that are in there all at the same time. So that.
I don't know if it's different for every like other mental institute, but firsthand experience, well, not me like going, but visiting. Oh, we got our own separate room for the family, and only 2 people were allowed there at the same time to visit the person. Wasn't a big room.
Lie. The third lie was they said that I made her get a breast augmentation in 2017. I didn't. In fact, I even emailed her at the time telling her I didn't agree with it. I didn't think it was a good idea, but Mica said it's my body and I can do what I want to do.
Where's that email? Where's the email? Which right now, I suppose that if he did come out with the email and it wasn't dated, and people could prove that it was from 2017, I wouldn't believe it. But if they could prove, like, oh yeah, this email was sent to JP, to Mica, 2017, there it is. If they can do that, then sure. Okay. There's no disproving that. But where are your receipts, sir?
If you know Mica, she will always do what she wants to do. And that year she worked at a car dealership making like $85,000. And so she did everything she wanted to do, bought everything she wanted to buy. And that's one of the things that she chose to do, not me. And you'll find that when her medical records come out, that even her own doctor told her to stay away from her family. That's right. Her own doctor told her that it was bad for her mental health to be around her sisters. Find out why later on.
In an interview yesterday on News Nation, Michael Francis has responded to the latest rash of videos from John Paul Miller.
He's just using these things to gaslight the public in hopes that they will forget the explosive thing that occurred on 27th of April, where I will always know where I was at, and my family will always know where we were. And he's just using this as a distraction to try to gain support, etc. And he's going to be, he's already used some things that are what he would say would be damning towards us that Mica said. And it's just simply her being in under duress, and her telling us that. She told us that all the communications that we've been receiving from her during their times of trouble was her under duress, just trying to say what he wanted her to hear so that he would calm down. You know, when you're...
I can say firsthand experience being in a very, very, not even just toxic, but in a very abusive relationship, that my family was wonderful. But I was made to very, very brainwashed. I was made to believe that my family was after me, and they were toxic and they were gross, and that they were jealous of me and they didn't want me to succeed. They were dragging me down, but I was taught that by the person I was with. So he took me away from my family. And I remember so many times where I was just so mean to the my big sister that's not here anymore. I was so mean to her. And it wasn't because, like, I hated it, but I was also so convinced that she didn't want the best for me and she was after me and my relationship and whatever. But you know, I mean, after that, everything was perfectly fine with us. But I I can understand saying things to your family because you were brainwashed, or you were under duress, or you were made to believe that they were toxic and that they were gross. So I can understand that for sure. So I wonder if this is something very, very similar to where after she actually got out of that relationship, she was like, oh my God, no, he was the problem, not my family.
Faced with violence just because you tell the truth, when you're harassed enough times that the police should have arrested him already. There's enough charges. He has broken the law under the current the law as it is. He has harassed her more than 2 times in a 90-day period, and he needs to go to jail right now for that. He needs to be at least charged for it, at least have to deal with that, instead of making silly videos where he thinks some hero images and stuff will be a good idea.
A lot of finger pointing and back and forth. And the Francis family maintains that John Paul Miller is responsible for the death of his wife. But John Paul Miller continues to suggest that there's somebody else responsible for her passing.
But when I get to court, I'm going to show you that the world is round, and you're going to be shocked at some of the things that you see that Mica says. And we're going to find out actually who is responsible for my wife's death, and Mica will have justice when it's all said and done, and I'm going to make sure of it.
While this back and forth goes on, the FBI continues their investigation.
Okay, one last video. Here we go.
For the first time since the allegations came out, John Paul Miller now denies tracking his wife, slashing her tires, and posting nude photos of her. But there's a specific part of this video that's key. But first, listen.
My wife was diagnosed with bipolar 2 disorder, schizophrenia, dependent personality disorder, and several other diagnoses by different doctors at different times all throughout the past 7 years.
John Paul Miller describes a very, very sick woman. And if she was indeed that sick, I agree she needed her medicine. But if she was so sick, then you have to question, why was Mica Miller in charge of so many programs at Solid Rock Church? Specifically, she was in charge of the youth. If a woman is so mentally unstable, why was she allowed to be a part of teenagers' lives? According to multiple sources,
I just realized that there was music in this, so I'm going to have to pause it here and there because I don't know if this is licensed. I don't know. I just don't want to be copyrighted.
when Mica was in charge of the youth group, it flourished. She did a phenomenal job, and parents loved her. I've spoken to parents who had several children underneath the leadership of Mica Miller at Solid Rock Church. None of them ever saw any signs of mental illness. Not only that, Mica Miller seemed to be the face of Solid Rock Church, appearing in multiple videos on their Facebook page.
It's October 12th from 2 to 3:30 p.m.
And of course, we all know she was on stage every single Sunday, leading worship. But now, back to March 11th.
On March 11th, remember that date because you super sleuths out there are going to need to know that date for the future. But something happened that kind of forever changed the course of our lives.
When you cover a case like this, you build relationships with people who are involved in the story. And in this story, I've built dozens of relationships. Some of those people still very close to John Paul Miller. Some did indeed happen in the early morning hours of March 11th. I've seen the text messages. I've seen the call logs. What John Paul Miller failed to mention in this video is what the private investigator allegedly told him about March 11th. John Paul didn't like what that investigator had to tell him.
Delusional and accusing me of certain things, slashing tires or sending a naked picture or stalking her, things like that I didn't do.
And remember, John Paul has already admitted that there was a private investigator, and John Paul admitted that that private investigator put tracking devices on Mica's car.
So I'm saying he has already admitted to a lot of this stuff.
I didn't put a tracking device on her. I told him, sure, if she was near a gun store, to give me a call. And also thought that maybe there was some other readings. You'll see that next week.
So if there was a private investigator...
Also, in that video, he kept saying, oh, we'll see it next week. We'll see, I'll come out with all the whatever next week. Well, it's due time. It is now that week. And or has passed. So, what is it?
On March 11th, then the private investigator knew where Mica Miller was. And not long after John Paul Miller allegedly received this information from the PI, Mica Miller called police about her tires being slashed.
So we've come into a lot of information that has been sent to the police, and that's the key thing here, because people are wondering, okay, so what are police to do with all of these allegations? Do they even know? And now we know that her family has forwarded all of this information to the police. One of the things that is included in these documents is an apology email from him to Mica on April 15th of this year, which is about 12 days before she died. In it, he writes, "I'm sorry for damaging your car, tires, etc. If you ever come back, I will turn in both cars and get you a nice SUV or whatever car you want. Again, my horrible flesh pattern of hurting someone when they hurt me."
And that is a very, very Christian thing to say. My flesh. My flesh made me do it. I was working in my flesh and not the spirit. That is a very, very Christian thing to say.
Now, many of you may be asking, where are these text messages and call logs that I speak of? this part of the story is too vital to the investigation, and therefore I'm not going to interfere with the evidence that the FBI now has. And I will tell you this. I have confirmed that the FBI has spoken to multiple people about March 11th and what happened that early morning.
God hates divorce.
What happened on March 11th? I'm going to cut it. I'm going to cut it right there. Y'all let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. And if you just so happen to stumble upon a video or more information about this investigation, please feel free to, you can DM it to me on Instagram. All my stuff is right here. Or you can email it to me, whichever one works better for you. Just let me know so I can be mindful and look out for it. Anywho, so that is today's video. I believe it's part 9. So I appreciate y'all so very much. This week I will be doing more videos about religious trauma and I guess more of shining a light on problematic Christian influencers. And that's what the original niche of the topic of my channel is. However, when this investigation came out, I wanted to really get on it because it's involves religious trauma. However, like I've said before, I didn't understand how deep it was, but now that we're in it, I feel like it's very imperative, and especially since it happened in April, May, June. I mean, it's almost, I guess, almost July-ish. So I'm starting to not, I mean, I see it because I'm looking for it, but sometimes it's not a huge topic of conversation anymore, which is really, really sad. So I want to be a voice for it. So so it just doesn't, 3 weeks after something happens and it's like, oh, on to the next. And that unfortunately happens a lot. So I really want to be able to continue to talk about this until there is justice for Mica. And now that I live a little bit closer, like I said, I'm going to really try to convince my husband. I know that he would not be okay with us and or just me going to the protest, especially since it is at the sheriff's department. And I understand that. However, I wonder if we can just take a little drive by. And if we do, I will take a video of it for sure. So again, I appreciate y'all so very much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.